Hello and welcome to the Coefficient Talks, the channel where we keep an eye on the rankings for the European spots. In this video, I will explore the different scenarios for Portugal for the next Champions League. Could Portugal actually go on from just two teams in the Champions League this year to five teams next year? So let's take a look at it. Portugal still has three teams active in this year's UEFA competitions. Sporting is playing in Champions League after a strong comeback against this year's surprise Bordeaux Glimt, and both Braga and Porto are still in Europa League, with especially Porto being one of the favorites to win the trophy this year. Portugal do not have any teams in the Conference League. Benfica was knocked out in the Champions League, and Santa Clara was eliminated before the league stage of the Conference League. I should say that I'm recording this video before the Europa League games Thursday, so by the time you watch this video, there could be an update to the points, which could be significant as the teams progressing also gets bonus points. And Porto will either be through or eliminated by Stuttgart. Portugal is having a very strong season that has seen them overtake Netherlands for the sixth spot, and that in itself gives an extra Champions League stage ticket. This means that Portugal goes from two participants to three participants. But it only starts from the season 27-28. So this will have no impact on how many Portuguese teams can participate next year. So whilst this is of course great for Portugal, it doesn't benefit them already from the next season. As you can see, the Champions League winner gets a Champions League spot next year, and so does the Europa League winner. So you might think that simply by winning both tournaments, they will then get four teams next year. But no, it is unfortunately not that simple. The reserved spots for the cup winners are only to ensure that those specific teams that win will participate in the tournament next year. So if Sporting, Braga, or Porto manage to win a cup, but have already qualified via the league, there is no extra spot given to Portugal. This rule might seem a bit unfair, but from a sporting perspective, I'd say it is the most fair approach. It is not number 4 or number 5 in Portugal that would have earned a spot, but for instance, Porto that would end up earning two spots, but of course can only end up using one of them. So if Porto were to win Europa League, they will earn a spot in the Champions League, but only if they don't end in top 2 in their domestic league. Then they would get the qualification through the domestic league. And so far, Porto is currently in first place with 7 points down to number 3, and Braga is in fourth place with 16 points up to number 2. So if they win, they would most likely book Portugal a third Champions League spot. Luckily for Portugal, Braga is in the silver path and Porto is in the orange path, meaning that they cannot meet each other until an eventual final. Sporting is in the Champions League and will meet Arsenal next. If they were to win Champions League against the odds, they would get a Champions League spot for winning if they haven't finished in the top 2 in the league. Currently, they are in second place, but with the same points as Benfica in third. So, to get 4 teams in the Champions League, Sporting would have to win Champions League and end in third place, and Braga would have to win Europa League and maximum end in fourth place. But there's actually another way Portugal can gain an additional team for next year's Champions League. The top 2 ranking nations each year gets an additional spot. And because Portugal have been performing very well this year, they are in contention to one of these spots. Their main rivals are England and Spain, with England being too far ahead. So they need to beat Spain to get this additional Champions League spot. If we use the same scenario as before, where Sporting and Braga win their European Cups, they would under most circumstances also be a top 2 nation in Europe this year. This would mean top 3 in Portugal end up qualifying for Europe. But then we get a problem for Sporting. Now third place is domestic league qualifier, meaning they would have qualified through the league and have to forfeit one of their tickets. As you can see from the league, there is a massive gap between third and fourth spot. So, in order to get 5 Champions League spots for Portugal next year, Sporting has to win Champions League, Braga has to win Europa League, and a team like either Gil Vicente or Famalicão has to gain 20 points on Sporting in the next 8 to 9 rounds and end up minimum in third place. Whilst it's not completely impossible, it is extremely unrealistic. So, yes, Portugal can theoretically still get 5 teams next year in the Champions League. However, 4 is actually a realistic scenario, despite only having 2 spots through the league at the beginning of the season. A successful season for especially Braga can ensure Portugal's top 4 all qualify for a historic campaign next year. Whilst Porto is considered to be the stronger of the 2 Portuguese sides, they have also gone into the more difficult orange path, whilst Braga is in the widely considered easier path to the final, meaning that this upset could happen and Braga could end up in the final and get that 4th spot for Portugal. So that's all from me. If you like my video, like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.